Coming up on Oakdale Update, Assistant School Superintendent for ISD 622, Dr. Troy Miller, joins me in the studio. He's here to update us on the latest happenings taking place in the school district. Plus, we'll preview some upcoming events taking place in the city. Stay tuned, Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello and welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Ursello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. I'm now joined by ISD 622 Assistant School Superintendent Dr. Troy Miller. Troy, thank you for joining us today on Oakdale Update.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, let's start out by, I want you to tell us about yourself, your education, and how you became the Assistant Superintendent.
All right. Well, this is my 19th year in the school district, and I started off actually was a student in the district, and throughout all my career continued to be a teacher and landed in Webster Elementary as the school principal.
Oh, you did?
So I was there for 6 years as principal, and that was the school I actually started as a student over there. So it was kind of fun to be a student and then be the principal there, so I had a lot of good stories with the kids.
Sure. When did you get your PhD?
PhD, I got about 10 years out of college, so I just kept going for more education, got my master's and then my principal's license, then my PhD, 10 years out through St. Mary's University.
Isn't that nice that you're in the same district that you were born and raised in? Huh?
Yeah, so fun, so fun. It's changed a lot, but it's just great.
Well, we're talking changes coming up now, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about that. All right, let's talk about all the plans for the school district. Start out with the vision for District 622.
Vision. So we, again, we're looking at a lot of renovations and the needs that we had in our community. A lot of our buildings were 50 years old, and we were just looking at the needs of our kids, the community, and trying to create some really good learning environments for our students. We were really concerned about safety and security and how entering and how parents dropped off and picked up on our buses, and things had changed over time. Back in my day when I went to school there, a lot of kids walked to school, and it's changed so much with open enrollment and a variety of different things that now we have kids being dropped off a lot. So we really are looking at safety and security, and then we were looking at really trying to
But the safety and security, that also includes a potential shooter coming in or something like that, right?
Yeah, really looking at safety around anything dangerous, securing our building inside and outside, and having secure entrances, and looking at our whole facility so that we can be proactive and be able to respond in a crisis situation.
If I may ask, what is the new security procedures as you come into a school building? And I think it's going to happen to all the schools, isn't it, eventually?
Yeah. The procedures are, we have someone in the office area that actually buzzes you in, so you have to be buzzed in, and someone greets you there, and we have a whole process as people come in and checking, knowing who's in the buildings, and having we have police liaison officers in our high schools and some of our middle schools, but a whole procedures around making sure we know who's coming in, why, where they're going at all times.
Okay. Another thing, just a sideline here on there was an article in the Minneapolis Trib, I'm talking about safety now, about drivers driving around school buses. And there was something like, and they said in the paper, I don't know if I believe this, but 625 in one day where people bypass the bus, the safety arms. Is the school, are you addressing that sort of thing?
We are working with our transportation department. We do a lot of education. They always are bringing us information as well, but we definitely push out information to our families and making sure they understand how, again, safety with our buses and the rules around that. So we're always, communicating and working with our community around bus safety. We, again, work very closely with our local authorities. So if we do see or have issues, we get the license plate numbers, we're calling our local police, and they just do an awesome job supporting us and addressing those individual situations, and we also try to educate.
It's hard to believe that anybody in this day and age would drive past a school bus with the arm flashing and the stop sign out, right?
Yes.
I mean, and what is you wouldn't know what the fine is or anything. It's very little. I think it's like 500, according to that article, it's like $500 or something like that. It should be a lot more than that, I would think, but.
Not aware of the
Well,
fine.
that's a tough one. Okay, anyway, so another thing you plan on doing is modern furniture. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so furniture is really important. There's a lot of research around flexible furniture. Back in my day, I used to, sit in these uncomfortable chairs and you didn't move and whatever. And now there's just a lot of research around varying heights, standing, really just having a lot of flexible ways to conduct your classroom, so we can do small group instruction. We're moving a lot. Kids these days, it's really hard just to sit and learn, so we're moving around. We're doing small group instruction. We have student preferences. There's students with varying disabilities and whatnot, so we're trying to accommodate and be responsive to the needs of all of our learners. And the furniture is a huge part of that, and it's really exciting having that, and the kids love their furniture and their spots and how that can meet their needs as well.
Oh, I'm looking back at when I was a kid. I mean, it was so totally different. I did go through your Castle School, which is done now, right? That is one of the first ones that got finished up. It's absolutely beautiful in there. I wish I was 5 years old again and I could go back to school. It was just wonderful in there. And of course, the teachers are wonderful people too these days. I had some mean teachers back in my day, but that's another story. Okay, so another vision is the energy efficiency.
Yeah, so really important for our taxpayers. Again, buildings 50 years in the works, a lot of them, and just there's so much new technology and really trying to look at lighting and how we can use even solar energy and all these very highly efficient systems for us. Again, going back to that learning environment, dimming lights and having technology so we're saving energy, lights are going on and off. We can do things with dimming, we can do things with heating and cooling. So really we did a lot of studies around that and really wanting to maximize those dollars. Every dollar is so important for our kids, for our community, the taxpayers. So a big part of that was really taking a look at how we can be more efficient. And
I noticed that when I toured Castle School, and again, as I said, it was just beautiful in there. And I noticed the lights they aren't quite as bright, I guess, they're more comforting, if that's the word I'm looking for.
Yep.
They were more comfortable, I guess, to be in there.
Yeah, the lighting is huge. We have, again, that flexibility to dim or to brighten the lights, and it just really, really helps. Sometimes we need the dimmer lights to calm a situation or to calm our students, and other times when we're doing various learning activities or whatever, it's nice to have a little bit more light.
And they do have natural light too, aren't they? Using natural light a lot too, aren't they?
The design is really, really, really important around the natural light. Again, a lot of the research around that. Again, the sunlight, especially living here in Minnesota, and all of that's so important. So that natural light is so important. So really capturing that.
And the fourth one is health and comfortable, and I think we kind of covered that with the new furniture and that kind of thing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the next plan, phase 2, is planning school consolidations. So let's talk about that. Now that's going to be the next phase, I believe. Or that's the whole phase, the whole thing is. Okay, go ahead.
I think, looking at our consolidations, so currently we have 9 elementaries. So in the plan, it's going from 9 to 7, so that means some larger schools. So we're still looking at having the same number of students roughly, or maybe hoping to even bring in more students with some of the new developments and the things that we're doing. But so going from 9 to 7, so looking at closing some schools and then rebounding and making sure that we have a really good plan. And again, these beautiful facilities to do what we need to do for kids.
You know what, I want to get back to this, the facilities there. When you planned all this, the consolidations, I can understand that, you know, you got populations here and there, but who did you talk to as far as the actual interior of the schools? I mean, did you talk to the teachers and the principals and the custodians? And how far? Did you talk to all of them from all different schools?
Yes.
What kind of input did you get?
Yeah, a ton of input. Christine Osorio, our superintendent, is really big on community, staff, everyone being involved. So we had study groups, we've had from the community members to teachers to the engineers, custodial staff, everyone involved, because it impacts all of us, and everyone's perspective just helps us to make the right decisions for kids and to help us with all of the visioning pieces that we're talking about. So it's just a lot of conversations. I was fortunate to sit in many of those. We call them listening sessions. We gather the feedback. We post the information on our website. If those that couldn't make some of those informational nights, they were still able to communicate through our website and through some of our Google Docs, and then we would just keep refining and taking that information to the leadership teams and then back to our finance and business office and all of our engineers and people working on
So
the
who
projects.
actually was in charge of that part of it? I mean, somebody had to be in charge, right? When you get all these, 100 different, people with ideas.
Yeah, so again, it still starts with Christine Osorio, Tucci Osorio, our superintendent, who really designed that. So she's been involved at all levels, but we also then hired Jenna Peters to really be a point person for all of these things, to make sure that we have constant communication. We're updating pictures, we're updating information, we're continuing to share back to the community about our promises, our updates, the things that we're doing, and to continue to take that feedback as we design and move things forward.
Okay, you know what, now that it occurs to me, when I toured Castle School, there was a guy there who was in charge. This is what he did for you people, didn't he? It's a company that, architectural firm?
Yep, so LHB is
That's
one of our...
okay, yes.
Yep, LHB, so another Troy Miller.
Was that right?
Yep, so he's one of the leaders there, and so, yeah, so we've been working back and forth with LHB and other contractors, and they just have been fantastic in working with us, always bringing our needs in there and figuring out ways to problem solve and try to take feedback and make it come to life with being efficient without, having these tight boundaries around cost.
Well, that's their business too, isn't it?
Yep.
That's what they do, is redo school districts and all around the country, I believe, don't they?
Yes,
Yes,
they do. So
nationally known.
we were able to visit a lot of the schools, not only the ones that they've worked in, but others as well. Just looking at, what their feedback was around some of the designs, the things that we were learning about, and to see it in action, talking to teachers,
Sure.
again, the engineers, and looking at, again, trying to modernize our buildings and what others have learned from going through it ahead of us.
That is so great. I'm glad you had those people. They
Yeah.
must have been instrumental.
It's really good.
Okay, so proposed phase 2 is construction plan. So this would be 20 to 22. 2020 to 2022 is the actual construction, okay?
Yep. So again, I didn't finish some of these. So 9 to 7, and again, previous to that, we updated our Richardson and Castle, which we were just talking about, and then going from 3 middle schools to 2 middle schools, and then updating our high schools. So part of that whole plan has been now behind the scenes as we're looking at designing 2 new elementaries, and then we're working on, again, expanding Carver Elementary, and then there's work right now happening for the renovation of John Glenn Middle School. Again, just a team approach around that, and as we go through those phases, we're going to be looking at student enrollment. We have a demographer who's looking at our enrollment, and we're looking at all these trends and working with the city around growth. So part of that then will be looking at rebounding, and then as these buildings get built over the next couple of years, having a smooth transition for our students and our staff and the community. So that's the next couple years as these buildings get designed.
And speaking of Castle School up at the north end of Oakdale, Now that is in anticipation. I'm sure that's part of the reason they did that, one of the first ones, in anticipation of the Imation property that's about to get start building pretty soon. It's supposedly this spring, but I'm not sure about that. But I mean, it's up to 500 new homes, which means a lot of little kiddos coming in the school district, right?
Yep. So that's a big part of it. We were anticipating that. We've been, again, getting the information. We know there's going to be some new developments. We're thinking new kiddos. We wanted to be prepared. We wanted to have, again, good learning spaces. A couple of our schools, such as Weaver, are really, really tight in enrollment. So we've been monitoring this over time. We knew that throughout this whole process we needed to look at our enrollment and what we need to do around rebounding and a lot of the growth in the community with some of the new housing.
Okay, so let's go over to, I know one of the projects is going to be Eagle Point School, which has been there since 62 or 3, I think that was about then, right?
Yeah, been there a long time.
And now what are they going to do with that one? That one, what's the plan on?
So the plan on that one is building a new Eagle Point. So it would be just actually on the grounds right behind that. So that would be north of the current location. And again, one of the things that I mentioned earlier around safety and security is we can't have everyone coming to the front. We have 250 families that actually drop off each day there, and then we have buses coming in. So part of that design is to have separate entrances for buses and parents and really keeping that safe. But building of the new Eagle Point there would be about an 800 student school.
Really?
So yep, so it would be built behind there. Again, a lot of this design and staff and community input has been happening behind the scenes right now, and it's been just a really good process. And it's funny how some of these ideas on paper, they started, and again with all of the input and community involvement, how it's completely changed from an idea to putting it on paper and getting some drawings now. And as we continue to get the feedback, it has changed so much, and it's really exciting.
Sure. Okay, I just want to go back to why was all this work necessary? How bad were some of the schools?
Yeah, some of the schools it was really tight. Again, staff in utility closets, always trying to find these spaces, because again, the needs of our kids have changed. We have students, English language learners, we have students with special needs and wheelchairs, and just really trying to have good learning spaces for our students. It's not like our student population went crazy, but again, making sure that we can program and meet the needs of kids. So we were having, staff in very not appropriate places. So as we toured it and as we learned a lot, we knew it was bad, but as we toured it was like, oh my gosh, we're in all these utility closets and doing different things, trying to have some privacy, trying to have some spaces for kids to be learning. So it will be just great to actually have some really good learning spaces for our kids and our staff.
So tell me, new schools, are we going to have any new buildings, actual new buildings? I mean, not remodeling, but new buildings on a different site or anything like that?
Yeah, so the new buildings will be, there's going to be a new building at Maplewood Middle School. There's going to be a new elementary, and that building will be south of the current location. So that's going to be one new elementary, and another new elementary is going to be the new Eagle Point. So having two new buildings, the others are going to feel new, and again, we're trying to do something for every building around safety, security, this learning environment that we said is so important. So we're doing some refreshers. We really wanted to touch every building, and then we're excited to get to our high schools. Tartan needs a lot of work there, and just around the learning environment, around safety and security. In North, we're looking at doing a little expansion there, and then to try to make that more secure, as we have a dual campus right now, as kids are walking to and from the old North to the new North. We have a third floor, so when it's 20 below or when it's raining, kids are passing back and forth there, and we want to keep it really safe and secure and to hit those phases as well. But yeah, the two new buildings will be the two new elementaries.
So we have two high schools in our district, right?
Yep.
Correct. Okay. So how's North? They were on limited grounds way back when they were built, and I remember there was a lot of screaming and hollering about keeping North where it was and I don't know if that was such a good idea because you don't have any property to expand on, do you?
No, we don't. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things, even in our, North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale, our schools, one of the things, if you look at other school districts that have more land, they put these guidelines around what would be really great and what makes it really challenging. It is one of our challenges. We just don't have a lot of space. So just trying to get creative with the space, and that's why the Maplewood and Eagle Point locations were chosen after a lot of study, a lot of input, because there was a little bit of land on both of those sites.
Oh,
But
they,
a
at
lot
Eagle Point, if I remember correctly, they got a big backyard, don't they?
Yeah, they got a big backyard.
big
so
backyard.
It helps. But again, some of these other districts that have land, they recommend 40 acres and so on for some of these sites to do it well, to keep it safe, to accommodate activities and needs and so on. And we're just really tight on that, but it's
So
going to be
what
beautiful.
about north? What can you do with that? I mean, you're just so limited there.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is expand on the front entrance there and go up the 2 stories there, and we'll able to get the 3rd level of the district center. Those students then will be able to come back in. So it's very limited. So it's still an expansion there, and who knows down the road what we're going to do. I know there's been talks of continuing to get feedback from the community and work on those options, but the idea to get everyone in that building and make sure that it's safe and secure and not having these passing times there is to expand off the front of it.
Well, I just think even traffic around there, because there's a lot of residential area around that school, right?
Correct.
And
Yep. Parking and transportation is a concern. So again, just trying to we've worked with our local police and the administrative teams. Every year it seems like we're tweaking and it's getting better, and we're getting good traffic flow. We have students and staff helping monitor the safety of the traffic flow. So it's gotten better, and we're just going to keep working on that as well. But
And I suspect the residents that live across the street they're so close. I mean, they're so close. I mean, they got to be involved in the school buses and the whole works, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
they are. Yep.
Too close. Okay, then what are the plans for Tartan? That school, what is that, built in 74 or something like that?
Yep.
Oh, it's 74.
Long time.
So what's plans there?
So plans there is really, that's where we're going to have the bulk of the work being done. So again, one of the things, just really that safe and secure, the drop-off and dismissal, and again, just that whole learning environment, really expanding on, as we talked about, the natural lighting and flexible. We really want flexibility within our schools so that we can use technology, we can have small group, large group, we can do a lot of unique things. So that building is going to have significant remodeling that's going to take place there, and a lot more input on that. So for me, I just know that it will be great to get the right people involved as we look at all the options, but really kind of need to do a significant move over at Target.
Okay. So what's the timeline right now? So the grade schools, you started a couple of those. Give me the timeline. if you
Yeah,
could.
so currently we continue to be on track for the timeline. So one of our pieces was just being nervous around, can this timeline work? So everything is still on pace because of, we're always worried about labor shortage or steel and some of these pieces, but things are progressing how we want. We're waiting to get some bids back and make sure our bids come in on track. So that planning phase is really going well for our new elementaries, along with Carver, who is doing the renovation. So that is all on track. So work will be continuing to get done over at Carver. Right now, John Glenn, there's a lot of work and design, and that is going out to bid. So that will be there. And then as we start moving in and working with Skyview Middle is going to be another building that is getting renovation. So that process has begun. And then phasing in some of the work over the summer, and then mapping it all out for these buildings being built and that whole transition around boundaries and staff movement.
Sure.
So it all kind of needs to come together, because one of the things we really didn't want to do is move students twice. We wanted it all to happen at one time. So for some reason, if something weren't to work out, we still would probably push it out, because we're really sensitive to the needs of our kids, the families, and we don't want we're trying to do work while kids are in buildings and in session. A lot of work will be happening over the summer, but we have plans, the things that we can do throughout the year as well, and just making sure that it all comes together so it's one move for families and
So
students.
this is an ongoing thing. Who is in charge? I mean, it's an ongoing, almost a daily thing, you know, just dealing with the construction or the coming construction. So who's in charge of that? You and Christine, or?
Yeah, so Christine is mainly in charge of that. And again, she hired Jenna Peters, who is a former principal at Richardson Elementary. She's really good with all of this. So she has a point person who's constantly updating that. And then they have the weekly meetings with construction. So it kind of goes back and forth to our cabinet level. I'm in charge and been involved in all of the elementary meetings and so on. Lisa Sales Adams is in charge of the secondary. She's assistant soup for secondary. And then the principals are very involved. So it's just this whole leadership team. And then we have monthly updates at our school board meetings around construction. We have monthly, we call them principal cabinet meetings. So everyone's being updated face-to-face, along with just our website and all the things that we can do with technology and pushing things out to our community.
Yeah, it's almost a daily thing, isn't it?
It's daily.
Because there's stuff going on.
It is
all the
daily.
time.
Yep.
Okay, we're running out of time here, but I just got one more quick question. The bond issue was passed last year, I believe, in 2019, I think it was, and that gave money for the new buildings. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. How are we doing on the money situation?
Money.
Are we cost overruns? I mean, are we, you getting surprises on some bids coming in or anything like that?
We are feeling really good about that. We're super sensitive though to being on our bids, and so we are on our budget. And that's one thing that Christine would share is if for some reason if these bids do not come back to where we want them to be, we will go back and make sure they are. Okay. So we are not moving forward. All of the construction folks, everyone is aware of that. So the last two have come in on speed. But again, that would be one thing. If they don't, then this could push this whole timeline out. Right, so we are not moving ahead with any of that. And that's why hiring of Jenna Peters is also making sure we are on this and all of these things matter. And
I know there was a couple articles in the paper of St. Paul's, a lot of cost overruns happening for some of the stuff they're going. And apparently they aren't quite as organized as 622. Is that correct?
I just know that we're trying to stay on top of it, organized, and that has been really good planning from top on down and everyone involved. And our communication's been great in working with our construction.
Well, Troy, we're blessed with a bunch of good people at the top of this 622, yourself included. And Christine, of course, she's just a wonderful, wonderful lady, isn't she?
She's awesome. Love working with her.
She's a rock star.
Yep.
Okay, we're out of time, but I want to thank you for joining us on Oakdale Update.
All right,
okay?
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
The police department will host an annual spring meeting on the morning of April 4th at the North Fire Station, 5000 Hadley Avenue. This free event for Oakdale residents provides attendees with a wealth of information on a variety of safety topics. Refreshments will be served and door prizes will be given out too. If you plan to attend, please RSVP at 651-702-5204 by April 1st. If you've been looking for a rewarding way to serve your community for only a few hours a month, consider applying for one of Oakdale's advisory bodies. The Economic Development Commission, Environmental Management Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Tree Board are seeking members. Applications are available on the city's website, www.cioakdale.min.us. That's all we have time for this month on Oakdale Update. We leave you with a few more events taking place in the city. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching.